I'm doing a different painting for my two classes. We're both looking at color and how it works in the flower arrangement, the flower world. What I'm working on here, California poppies, a green that is dulled down a little bit. It's not a bright green. We really have to make a choice. Do we want the poppies to really stand out? And if we do, then the greens in the background all need to be muted some. So this picture works really well that way. We also have some value differences, and so I did a little value thumbnail sketch to start with to give myself an idea of where the real darks are, where the mid darks are, and where the light pieces are. So even though these are orange and we're thinking of them as being a mid-tone color, they're actually quite light on those edges. When we bring the value card into this and I check this background, see we're somewhere in here on that background, I come onto the edge of these and we're at about that same value on the edge of those. And I can even lighten them a little bit more when I do it. So anyway, that's something for us to think about. How does that value work through here? What's the value patterns that are going to make all of this stand out? Now the other part of what I need to be thinking about is, what is the compositional design here? So I'm seeing this beautiful C shape of the flowers running down through here, and playing with the design a little bit, I decided that I wanted to make that even a little stronger, make it a little bigger C. Now the other thing that I've drawn in here is one of the ways to keep your center of interest where people are going to look at it is to think about where on the page it is. And there is rule of thirds, Fibonacci, a couple of different names for it. But if we break our page into thirds this way, so 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and this little center box is an area that the mind wants to look at. We don't want anything right at the very center of it, but if our center of interest is somewhere near this edge of this box, it's going to be an ideal place. So I decided that this flower right here, this flower and its little buddies are my center of interest. And right now it's pretty close to the center of my piece. So I'm moving that up just a little bit to make that a little nicer, and then take this over just a little bit to make that circle a little bigger. So this is the drawing that I did. So as we put our drawing on, what we only want the outline of the shapes that are going to go in. So I've moved this flower up so it's a little closer to being on that box. I've moved these out just a little bit, and then when these shadow pieces go in, they're going to play down in through there. This is going to be mostly dark. That's a lot of light with those dark pieces running across through it, and then our beautiful bright flowers running through here. So I've transferred this onto my watercolor paper using graphite transfer paper, and then because I couldn't see it really super clearly, I actually came back in with a pencil and darkened it up a little bit. So I've got my basic flowers all drawn on here, got my shadow pieces. I haven't drawn any of this greenery in. I don't need to at this point. We'll worry about that's going to be pretty loose. This is where my detail is going to be. So my first step on this, I want to, now let's see what I do with that photograph. Where did my photograph go? Ah, here it is, hiding under things. What I want to start with is a loose wash of colors to give myself an idea of where these colors are going to go. A certain amount of this area is mostly dark, so if some of this orange runs out into here, it's not going to hurt anything. I think I'm actually going to splatter some orange in there to start with. This area over here, I don't want the orange to really go over in there, but a little bit would be okay. Now the other thing we're going to be thinking about is the color combination here is really a split complementary. So we have our orange, we have our yellow-orange, we have our green, and we're going to be leaning a little bit toward yellow-green on that, so I can put a yellow in underneath of it. And then my shadows out here, I'm going to play a purple with them, and maybe some purple back in some of these dark areas. So we'll see whether we'll go purely violet or pull it a little toward the blue-violet side. But it's going to be basically a violet kind of color so that we're doing that nice little complementary combination. Okay, so time to put some paint on. Yeah, so anyway, I'm sure you guys have some questions. You're going to be thinking about this. I am going to start by completely wetting the surface. I could have maybe wet it just up to the edge of these flowers over in here, but I want a little bit of color in there as well. And I think if I wait long enough, so there's this point when you're doing wet on wet where if it's really wet, everything's going to run like crazy, but then it starts drying, absorbing into the paper, and it's not quite so wet. And at that point, you get soft edges, but you don't get runny edges. So I'm hoping that I can manage to see that and put that in here. So what we're going to want to do here to start with, I'm just going to be doing my yellows and oranges on this layer so I don't end up getting a dirty mess. I need to look at this sideways so I can see where it's wet and where I haven't. I've got a big dry place in here. It's still a little bit warm today, so this is probably going to dry relatively fast. Getting enough water on here that there's a sheen all over the whole page. And then I'm going to need to work relatively rapidly. I want a pretty thin yellow in here, so I'm going to just take a little bit of my new gamboge, pull it over here into my other pan, get extra water in there. Let's just start in here because I know this is all going to be, I can just paint right over pretty much everything except some of those flowers where it's going to be a little lighter on the edge, maybe I'll leave. And then I want just a hint of this yellow to go into this background. Just a hint of it. A little more there. So as I'm building these colors up, I'm thinking about, what colors are going to work to make what I want. And I can put yellow underneath of all of this because this is a muted down purple. It's not a bright purple. It's going to be a gray purple. So its opposite color on the color wheel, i.e. yellow, can go on top of it without any problem at all. And are we going to want to, it's just, that's my center of interest there. And get a clean dry rag. I'm going to just lift a little tiny bit off of there so that maybe I'll have just a hint of white on those to make that a little bit brighter. Same with these two down here. I think they could go just a little bit lighter. So I'm just a clean dry rag lifting a little bit of this off. Just a touch there. Okay, I think that's all that's going to need it. Now I'm going to come in, and it looks like the sheen has come down a little bit on this. I'm now going to come in with a yellow orange. I had mixed an orange here using New Gamboge and quinacridone rose, which are the colors that I had given you guys on your list. So I think we'll try and work with that. I'm not going to try and go to the real darkest part of these. I want to look at the lighter part of the colors that are going to go down. Oh, it's not moving all that much at all. So this is going to work really well. So I'm just going to come in and find these flower shapes. And use the yellow, so a little bit of yellow with that. Maybe pick that off a little bit. Let that be yellow. Let this be yellow. I can always come back in and do those darker pieces. So I'm just telling myself where these are going to be. not worrying about the fact that that's going to get out of there. There's darks that go back behind there, so that's going to find all of that and be just fine. But the edge of this should be a little lighter. Just lighten that one up just a little bit. Put a little yellow on this part of that. It's drying already. I can feel it drying. I'm going to need to move a little faster here. Just trying to give myself a hint of what's going to happen here, knowing I'm going to come back in later and make this a much more strong painting. And let's see, that shadow, this piece right here needed a little yellow on it. Okay, and that one's that. This one here is a little bit more orange for most of it. And there's a piece there. Let's come back in and get yellow. And then lift that just a little bit to make that a little lighter. These guys are going to be mostly yellow. And it's drying, drying, drying. I might have to, put this paint down just a tiny bit wetter. Let's get just a tiny bit of water in this. I'm going to thin that edge. I'm going to thin this edge. Let's just get those with yellow. And where was that dry rag? Let's just, while this is still slightly damp, not quite damp enough, okay. I just wanted to pick a little tiny bit more off on a couple of these spots so that they don't get too dark. Okay, a little more yellow there. And then I want it to splatter a little bit of orange down into this area in here, but I don't really want those flowers to get splattered, so let's just do this. Toothbrush, my splatter tool. Okay, I think that can be fine. And I believe I'm going to stop at this point, let this dry, and then I'll come back in and start developing the rest of this. We're going to be doing what we call negative painting around these flowers, so I'll be able to crisp up these edges. We'll come back in and do the darks in these flowers on the second run through. At this point, I just wanted to get this put down, and I can, yeah, those can get lifted more later. Yeah, already drying. Time to stop.